Challenge your limits. Let your desire for victory take you beyond your limits.
Go big or go home. That's what I'll say. Battle 1. Fight!
I can do it! You're finished! I can do it! This! It's over! Grant me this!
Victory goes to the last.
Battle 2. Fight!
I can damn it! What? I can do it! That's how it's done!
Battle 3. Fight!
I can do it! Ha! You're finished! Come on! Come on! That's how it's done! Am I
Too fast for you? Battle 4. Fight!
Come on! I've got this!
Claim victory and bask in the glory.
I won't lose till I have my revenge.
Where was I?
Believe in your power.
Oh, fine.
Battle 1. Fight!
I can do
Yo. My check.
What?
Why is it not working?
Battle 2. Fight!
I can do it.
Battle 3. Fight!
Come on. You're finished.
Well, I mean, that's something I can already do.
It's all over. You're finished.
Battle
Mike, yo.
Fight!
Not yet.
Oh, this-
Come on. Easy. What? Not yet.
Oh, come on, I grabbed this bitch. There you go.
Victory.
Final battle.
Alert. Mission timer nearing expiration.
It's all over.
Oh,
It's all over. You're mine.
Claim victory and bask in the glory.
yo, Mike check.
Wasn't as hard as I thought.
It's just so low. Yo. Whatever. Yo.
Believe in your power.
Battle
Oh shit. You got something on? You're just interference.
Battle 3. Fight!
I can do it. You're mine.
Going somewhere? Stay down! Battle 4.
Guys, all about it. Okay.
Like that. It's all over. I won't die. Like that. It's all over. I won't die.
Surf's gonna get rough!
Oh, really? How'd that happen?
Man.
These kids are just fucking in their feelings today, bro. Holy shit. I think a teabag's supposed to be over the body. I mean, did a teabag from fucking across the way. Fucking loser. I'll get a message from him, so don't worry. I know how it goes. People are fucking toxic as fucking again. Diabolical, bro. Hey, Mr. Poppy. Welcome back. I enjoyed that teabag from across the way. It was pretty cute. Teabag consists of being over the body, though.
Battle 1. Fight!
Come on, Riot. Come on.
bridge shot for you. It's gonna be good, bro. You want me to help me surprise you. I was letting your teabags across the way this time, bud. Nah, I'm all day, bro. That's about it, bud. Oh, you want rematch, bud? No problem. I want to get that teabag from across the way. That was cute. I liked it.
Battle 1. Fight!
Mr. Poppy, that's your real name. Oh, I'm over here, bro. The fuck? Get the teabag. Get the teabag. Oh, come on, bro. Get the teabag. What the fuck?
Damn it! I can do it.
Battle 3. Fight!
I can do it.
Okay, bro.
Guess I should go all out! Fight!
Sorry, buddy. Aw, man. Where'd you go? Where'd you go, Mr. Poppy? No teabag. This bitch wild. I only meet people I trust on OnlyFans. What? You dumb slut? What the fuck? Good luck with that one.
Challenge your limits.
Yeah, there he is, Mr. Poppy. Mr. Sushi, whichever one you like to call it.
Let your desire for
Battle 1. Fight! Going somewhere?
I won't lose.
Give me the teabag, give me the teabag, give me the teabag, come on.
Battle 2. Fight! Damn it! What?
What are you mad? You suck. you doing?
You're mine.
Dummy.
I can do it.
That's all you doing. There you go. Oh, I got the D-bag. I got it. I got the D-bag. Dope. That's like you doing. Oh, here he goes. Here's it. Hey, get it, boy. There you go. You get a rematch, you bitch. Yeah. What a fucking pussy. Little pussy boy. Bro, this kid is a wild man, bro. Sushi Poppy. That's his name. It's the call him in the hood. Aw. Fuck.
Believe in your power and reach for victory.
I can't run away.
Battle 1. Fight!
You're I won't lose. Grant me
Battle 2. Fight! Battle 3. Fight!
I can do it.
wish the one guy actually fucking did it, by the way. Let's stick around for a little bit.
Battle
Quick.
1. Fight!
What?
What?
Battle 2. Fight!
Oh, yeah, right. Really?
Battle 3. Fight!
I can do it.
Really?
Battle 4. Fight!
Oh, really? You think you're not out of money?
That's how it's done.
The goddess of victories.
I'm alive.
Challenge your limits.
Battle 1. Fight!
I can do it. Ha, ha. Too slow. Too slow.
Never did that shit. Never done this shit.
Battle 2. Fight!
I can do
I can't get out of this. Really?
Battle 3. Fight!
I saw that my PR got approved, but there was a test failure, and I have become so lazy. Like, the moment I'm like,
You aren't making as much money as you want because you don't know how to get it from the people who got it. My name's Alex Lozzi. I work for both companies at Acquisition.com that are $250 million per year. A book club weeks ago that hit $160 million in sales and broke the Guinness World Record for fastest selling nonfiction book of all time. In this video, I'm explaining four shifts in my understanding of how getting money actually works and why the rich do in fact get richer, and I'm going to show you the math behind it, and most importantly, how you can gain access to it. The first reason that you aren't making as much as you want is because you're selling to people who don't have the money to give you. So think about it like this. This is really important. Imagine this pyramid as a representation of earning in the United States. What percentage of the people do you think earn 40% of the income? The top 10% earn 40% of the income in the entire United States. Now that's pretty extreme, but it's not even close to different things like that. So, U.S. household net worth, okay, this is the value of assets. Last year was $100 and $63 trillion. You're like, man, how am I going to pay rent? Let's take some of that $163 trillion. So this is going to blow your mind. So I want you to imagine you have $100. Okay, so I'm going to take $163 trillion. This is now $100. Okay, we're going to spread it out relative to how actually spread is in the United States. So this is 100 people who represent 100 percentiles in terms of net worth in the United States. This $163 trillion. What would they have? There was 100 people who represent this $100. They would have $2.50. I'm just going to give you those over in the United States. So $2 out of that $100. The bottom 50. So the next 40%. What do you think they would have? They're going to have 20, 25, 28 bucks. That's the next 40. Remember, you got $5. So the next 9%. Now we're in the top 10. The top 10 of net worth in the United States. How much do you think they got? They got 20. They got 30. They got 35. That's 38. Alright? $38 is just this 9%. Now, ready for the drum roll? How much do you think the top 1% is? I mean, it's 1/10, right? So like, it can't be more than the other 9, right? I mean, you think that? The top one, just the one guy, would have $32. One guy. Now this means that this one guy has more than the bottom 90% combined. This is very important because it has implications for how you do business. So when you hear me say sell the rich, they pay better, it's not a scientific statement, it's reality. And it takes people a very long time to learn this, and people often take years before they actually start to figure this out. Usually there's belief issues, they're like, no one else can do this, and part of the reason is because everyone they know is poor. And they're like, there's no way I can sell something for that price. And so they make stuff against all the other small businesses to compete for these $2. Think about that for a second. You're putting all the resources, because you see all these people, they're the ones that you brush your shoulders with, they're the ones that you see in the street every single day. And you're trying to compete and slice these $2 100 different ways. Wow. Right? If you want to make money, go where the money is. So let's put this concept on steroids here and actually apply this to doing business. This is how big companies get big. They go where the money's at, and this is a breakdown of something called Pareto principle. You might have heard of it, 80-20. It's one of the most powerful concepts in business, and most people still don't understand how to actually apply it. Alright, so once you freeze this idea in your head, just look at the money here. $2 here, $28 here, 38 here. Now we're in the top 10%, right? And we have another 32 here. So I said earlier that this one guy is more than the bottom 90. But 69% of all the wealth is just in these 10 people. If this doesn't change how you do business, you are missing the plot. What percentage of the people do you think earn 40% of the income? The top 10% earn 40% of the income in the entire U.S. Now that's income, and that's pretty extreme. But it's not even close to the difference when you look at wealth. So U.S. household net worth, okay, this is the value of their assets. Last year was $163 trillion. And you're like, man, how am I going to pay rent? I'm like, let's get some of that $163 trillion. So this is going to blow your mind. So I want you to imagine that you have $100. Okay, so I'm going to equate this $163 trillion is now $100. Okay, and we're going to spread it out relative to how it actually is spread within the United States. So this is 100 people who represent 100 percentiles in terms of net worth in the United States. This $163 trillion, what would they have? There was 100 people who represent this $100. They would have $2.50. I'm just going to use those for the United change. So $2 out of that 100. The bottom 50. So the next 40%, what do you think they would have? They're going to have 20, 25, 28 bucks. That's the next 40.
Remember,
We
we got $100
distributed
distributed.
here.
So the
So the
next
next
9%.
9%.
So now we're in the top 10, the top decile of net worth in the United States. How much do you think they got?
They got 20.
They
They
got
got
30.
30.
They got
They got
35.
35.
Got
Got 38.
All right.
All right.
$38 in
In
just
just
this
this
9%.
9%.
Now,
Now,
ready
ready
for the drum roll?
roll?
How
How
much do you think the
the
top
top
1%
1%
has?
has?
So I'm writing an essay on cats. Cats in art history. I'm an art history major, and this final is due on Friday.
I mean,
I mean,
it's
it's
1
1/10,
tenth, right?
right?
So, like, it can't be more than the other 9. What, right? I mean, you think that? The
The
top,
top
one,
one,
just
just
the one guy, would have
would have
30,
Think for that.
$2.
one guy.
One guy.
Now,
Now,
this
this
means
means
that
that
this
this
one
one
guy
guy
has
has
I didn't even test that. What the fuck? Why is it? Wow, see, this shit pisses me off. Man.
$64 of the aggregate profit, right, comes from just 4% of the, there you go, just do that, of the people in this, 4 customers, if you had 100. And then of this 64, 51% of the profit comes from just the top 1%. Now, doesn't that all of a sudden start to make sense when you look at how the wealth is distributed? 9% of the customers, if you have of the next point, will be resolved with 80 more. Still don't understand how to actually apply it. All right, so I want you to freeze this idea in your head. Just look at the money here. $2 here, 28 bucks here, 38 here. Now we're in the top 10%, right? And we have another 32 here. So I said earlier that this one guy is more than the bottom 90. But 69% of all the wealth is just in these 10 people. If this doesn't change how you do business, you are missing the plot. So the idea of 80-20 is that Pareto, who was an Italian economist, realized that there was this, 20% of customers created 80% of the revenue. And you just notice this 80-20, kind of issue that continued to occur within all different types of data sets. And so that became his principle. Now, here's where this gets really interesting. So within business, it totally rings true, where 20% of your customers will be responsible for 80% of your profits. And then here's where people miss the next point, is that within this 80%, 64% of the aggregate profit, right, comes from just 4% of the, there you go, just do that, of the people in there. 4 customers, if you had 100. And then of this 64, 51% of the profit comes from just the top 1%. Now, doesn't that all of a sudden start to make sense when you look at how the wealth is distributed? That the wealth is distributed in a way that also makes sense that the business would gain its profits in that way. And so we repeat this process, and this is kind of power law within business. This is how you do less and make more. Profit takes into account the fact that a single person, even with more service, often doesn't cost that much more to handle than the other 99. So it's more work, but significantly more profitable. Now, this is only true under one very important condition, that you actually have a business model that allows them to pay more, right? If you just only charge $10 for your thing, like, this is one of my favorite sayings is, the only thing worse than offering a $1,000 thing to somebody who's got a $100 budget is offering a $100 thing to somebody who's got a $1,000 budget. In the first scenario, you lose $100. In the second, you lose 900. Big difference. And so here's the important thing. If you have a model that allows for that, you have to understand that 99 out of 100 people are not the top 1%, right? If we're pulling back here, all these people are not the top 1%. So you should expect them to say no to your expensive products and services. But when that whale comes, you should want to Captain Ahab that bitch and get it done. Real quick, I'm going to show you the exact 10-stage roadmap from 0 to 100 million plus that less than 1% of companies finish. I've now done multiple times. And so I can say with a lot of confidence that these are the stages as headcount increases that you need to get through. And I broke each of these down by 8 different functions of the business, what the constraint feels like what are the symptoms of it when you're going through it, and then what steps we actually took to graduate. And we've done this across software, physical products, service businesses, brick and mortar, all of this, and it works. And it's my gift to you. It's absolutely free. And so the link's in the description, but you just go acquisition.com/roadmap, just enter your info, and it'll spit it right back to you, all free.
Enter the trading arena and go from the bullpen to the bull market. Turn data into sharper decisions. Spot what matters, predict what's next, decide with confidence powered by Moomoo AI. Everything you need on one platform. Trade stocks, ETFs, options, and crypto on Moomoo, official partner of the New York Mets. Trade smarter. Download Moomoo today.
I'm a jack of all trades, master of some. I do a lot of things like design, ceramics, random arts and crafts, being a content creator.
And so the reason that I talk about selling to the top 1% is that one of the most effective ways to build a business is from the top down. So what do I mean by that? Like, think about like Tesla, right? We started with a $250,000 Roadster, and he had a very limited production. Very few people, more profitability per. What then happens? Well, then he was able to make the, Model S, and that was the next car. And then he made the Model 3 or Model Y, whatever. So he kept working his way down. But what's interesting about this is that when you anchor high, it makes sense. Think about it from a branding narrative perspective. If I say, hey, I've got this really expensive car, it's amazing, it's super fast, and then I say, hey guys, many of you couldn't afford this, so I made another car that's similar, but more affordable for you. That brand narrative works because you anchored high. Now think about the reverse. Hey, I'm a budget discounter, and I'm gonna now sell a really expensive car. It doesn't hit the same, right? And so I love the top-down approach because you have a brand reinforcer, but also from an operational perspective, being able to ship the amount of cars he has to ship for the Model 3 compared to the amount that he had to do for the Roadster, it made more sense to start here because you can handle the volume, right? You might not have the operations to handle the amount of work that it requires to serve the masses. Like, for sure, there is money, right? At the bottom, there is. But you have to be doing it at very small razor-thin margins with extraordinary volume. And unless you have the capital to create something that truly scales to that mass, you will probably just end up trying to squeeze the $2 for more than what they're worth. And so, how do we actually translate this into pricing our products and services? This is super important. So here's my rule of thumb for upsells, taking into account that 20% of customers have far more spending power than the ones below. Now remember, we had $2 here and the next level had 28. So it was 14 times more wealth between just the bottom 50 and the next 40. But just using the Pareto principle in terms of how we can apply this to pricing, like you not understanding this is why your business is not making as much profit as you want, all right? So my rule of thumb is that for every new tier is that you want to 5 to 10x your price and expect 20% of people to take it, okay? So here's how it works. So let's say that you sell 10 customers. Okay, so you sell 10 customers. Let's do it again. Okay, now if you have 8 of these customers at $10 per month, and you've got 2 of them at $50 per month, how much am I making on these guys? I'm making $80 per month in total on the bottom 80, and then I'm making $100 per month on my top 20%, or my top 2. And so by serving these 2 customers differently, we doubled the revenue of the business, which by the way, again, is my rule of thumb. I want each tier to bring me another double, like another full amount of revenue. Otherwise, I'm like, I don't know if it's worth creating the actual extra constraint of operations, right? But here's where it gets even nastier. Let's say that this covers the majority of our overhead. That means that this extra $100 might contribute 10 to 1 compared to this to our bottom line. And so sometimes when you make a move like this, if you were here and you had $80 and you were living your life on this 80, right? It's like, well, maybe your cost is 70 and you're taking 10 home. If you add this $100 in and maybe the cost on this is 20, you've got 80 left over, we 5x the profit. So let's say our profit before this was 10 a month. And then we added this in and we had $80 a month in profit from this 100, right? Look at the difference in profit. We go from 10 to 90 just by adding this tier. And so the reason your business is not making this money and you're not making as much money as you want is because you're not priced appropriately for the people who actually have the money to give you. And so to maximize revenue, you can think of it with 4 tiers of pricing. And to be clear, you don't need to serve everyone. And the first product you have may not be your base tier. All right, so you might start here. I don't know yet. I don't know your business. But this is what you can walk through in terms of thinking through the pricing for your products and services. So let's assume that we have 1,000 customers, all right? So on our base tier, all right, so this is the lowest, $10 per month, and let's say we've got 800 customers at this level, okay? Now, our second tier, we might have it $100 per month, so 10 times that price with 20% taking it, all right? So that means we're gonna get somewhere in the neighborhood of 200-ish people who would qualify for this tier. Okay, and the next tier, we still have to follow our rule, 5 to 10x. So that means we're gonna be at 500 to 1,000 a month for this next year. Just to keep it simple, I'm gonna just do 10x because it's nice and clean, all right? And so here, we're gonna have maybe around 40. Now you're like, wait, I thought we had 1,000 customers. This would be 160. I'll redo the math at the end so you can see it, all right? Now, our next tier might be, again, 5 to 10 times this, and so we might be somewhere in this $5,000 to $10,000 a month, all right? And so times around 8 people, okay? And so if you're looking at this, you're like, holy cow, that's those are very big differences in price. Yes, but so they reflect how different the spending power that exists within customers is. All right, and so the main takeaway from this is that if you're gonna have an upsell, a very small percentage of people are gonna take it, and so you have to make it worth it. And so people will have these, I'll go 100 and 129, it's like, it's the same pitch, it's the same price. The willingness to pay for that customer is the same. Let me show you how I've actually translated this into my own business, all right? Well, this, and you can ignore the actual numbers of customers, but what do we have here? We have school. And then at $100 a month, what else do we have? We have school. This is our hobby plan. This is our pro plan. And so for me, the next number is $5,000, which is L1. And what's the next number after that? $35,000. Almost like it's between 5 to 10 times the price. which is L2. And then what do we have after that? We have something that's $135,000. So that's 4 times the price, right? And this is L3. And what do I have underneath of that? No money, because it's a portfolio company. And so the thing is it may take some time to build out this entire thing. I didn't start with school. I started building, our brand. This is, to be clear, just our advisory practice that we have at acquisition.com. And so I'm just saying, like, knowing this doesn't mean you need to do all of this at once. It takes years, and it does take operational chops to pull this off, right? You want to add tiers one at a time. My tip, though, is to start as high up as you can on this ladder for a few reasons, right? So the Tesla example I gave earlier, the branding from top down versus bottom up is much stronger. Like Honda making a better car is tough versus Rolls-Royce making a Rolls-Royce Light. It would be an easier play for them from brand position. The next reason is that I prefer to start with the unscalable. Why? Because it's easier to operationalize it serving these people, because one, they actually, believe it or not, as a percentage of net worth, this is actually lower than what this is for somebody who's poor, right? If you have $10 million, 100 grand is 1% of what you've got. If you've got $1,000, $100 is 10% of what you got. And so for you, you will actually be more demanding for that 10% or that $100, reasonably so, than somebody who's giving 1%. But from a business perspective, the $100 versus the 100 grand, it's a gigantic difference. So you have an easier customer to deal with that has lower demandingness, but it requires, and to be clear, to get that $100 to equal 100,000 is you got to get 1,000 of those people. So is serving the one customer for 100,000 easier than serving 1,000 at 100 as somebody who used to sell $100 gym memberships? For sure. And if we were to look at this from a profit contribution perspective, like what is actually dropping to the bottom line, it would look like this. All the profit is here, just like all the wealth is at the top. So you have to do more and charge more for it to people who can afford it. And the amount you do for a few people is almost always worth it for the far greater price for those people who are willing to pay it. Now, you might ask, well, wait a second. I thought you said sell the rich. Like, why do you have this $10 and this $100 a month thing? The only way to serve the poor masses, right? And I say this to be a little bit more like, jarring, but to serve people with lower budgets is to have tons of money and then find a way to serve them in an automated manner at a low price. And if you do that, you can also make a lot of money, but via volume. But it takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of time. And the reason that Tesla has almost gone bankrupt multiple times is because it's incredibly hard. The reason most software companies like Netflix and Spotify and some of these big consumer, companies, who charge $13 to give you, think about how hard that is. Think about how hard that business is. They have to make world-class entertainment for all the different genres that someone might like just to earn their $13, right? Just to earn the equivalent of like a Chipotle bowl. And I bring this up because some people come in saying, oh, I'm going to do that. It's like, you're going to do that bootstrapped? No, these companies that you're looking to model literally got artificially inflated with outside capital to prop the business up until it would get to the point where it actually could make money. So to do something like this costs a fortune. And so the way that I'm trying to walk you through this is that 80% of businesses in the US, or 78, are service-based businesses. And so you don't have an automated way to serve these masses. You likely don't. And so if you don't have an automated way, then you want to go in the complete other direction, which is I want to serve the best customer at the highest possible price, but people misprice their products and services. They say, okay, my current core thing is $1,000. I'll make the next thing $1,500. It doesn't work that way. That's not how the buyer works. The buyer is at $5K, $10K from the $1K thing. That's the next tier. That's the next rung on the ladder. All right. And so this hopefully should shift your perspective in terms of how pricing really works. A disproportionate amount of profit is here. We have to make gigantic jumps with the assumption that very small percentages are going to take it, but still be okay with it, because even a small number of people at a gigantic price is still a lot of money. So how do you actually translate this and put this into practice? Number one, stop selling from your own wallet, especially if you're one of the people who, you're in that $2 category, right? You're that bottom 50% right now. I get it. I've been there. You have to forever imagine, this is a gift, forever imagine that everyone is rich. So here's the reality that will shock you. That top 10% of Americans have $1 million plus net worth. 1 in 10 people, $1 million net worth. They've got the money. You just aren't selling them something that they want. And you might even be, and this happens a lot, especially for newer business owners, you might even be too cheap for them to even believe that you're good. Like, we had a company that was in the health space a while back, and looking at all the research, it was a doctor and all this stuff, and I just fundamentally believed that they were mispriced. And so what I did was I wanted to raise the price by double. You fought me back and forth forever. And I was able to finally get a 50% price raise through. But guess what happened? We raised the price by 50%. That's a lot. What do you think it did to the close rates? They went up. They were so cheap compared to the promise and what they were delivering that people didn't even believe that it worked. And so some of you guys are so cheap because you're selling out of your own wallet. You're selling based on what your friends and family, who might also be in that $2 bottom 50%, are telling you. But why would you listen to the people who don't have money on how to get money? They don't know where it is. They don't know how to get it. And more specifically, they don't know how to serve the people who've got it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that if you're gonna do this, listen to me on this. Whatever your upsell is, 5 to 10x the price. And then just make sure it's something that you'd be happy to deliver for 5 to 10 times the price. Sometimes I'll get pushback from people who are like, oh, that would be so much work. And I'm like, cool, we have value and we have price. Move one of them. Either do less or charge more. I would encourage you to just charge more, right? And so if I were to say, hey, I want you to 10 times the current price of your upsell, what would you do that would absolutely blow people away? How much does that actually cost you? When you look at the cost compared to that 10 times bigger price with a zero on the end of whatever your core offer is, you might find it's like, actually, it's only like, 5% of that price. It's like, right, really high margin. So as long as you're happy making more money, serving fewer people, go do that. The third one is that you should expect only 1 in 5 or 1 in 10 people to say yes. Expect more no's. And this is the sweet spot of making money, right? The sweet spot isn't the most yeses, it's the most money. And that is never with the most yeses. So if you pitch your 10 times bigger price to this bottom 50%, none of them are gonna say yes. And you're gonna mistakenly believe that this is a bad idea. But the reality is that you're just not talking to the people who have the money. And so you should expect that if you have a representative amount of people that you speak with, 1 in 10, maybe even 1 in 100, is the person who is the correct avatar. And for that person, you might also find they'll just say like, yeah, that sounds good. And you'll be like, oh my God. And I only say this as somebody who's had it happen for the first time. Like, I can't even believe this is possible. I can't believe this person would give me this much money. It's because to them, it's not that much money. It's only that much money to you because you still live here.
To get started in data analytics, you don't need previous experience or a degree. The Google Data Analytics Certificate will teach you to code in R, to code in SQL, data visualization, and learning how to problem solve like an analyst would. At the end of the day, being a data analyst is about communication. It's the #1 soft skill that you'll pick up. And so learning how to take the information and make it accessible to a lot of people is at the core of being a strong data analyst. Ready to get started? Enroll today.
Playing on iPhone? Now you can play Unlocked on PC with Google Play Games. Unlock bigger screens and better controls for even sweeter battles. Go play on PC with Google Play Games. Download now.
If you sell to rich people long enough, they will make you one of them. And so with your upsell, make it crazy. And this is called an anchor for a reason, right? If no one buys it, no big deal. Or most don't, no big deal. But the good news is that it'll still help you sell the rest of everyone else at a higher percentage and even at a higher rate because it'll look like a good deal in comparison. And I said this before, but I'll say this again. The next reason is the only thing worse than selling a $1,000 thing to a $100 buyer is selling a $100 thing to a $1,000 buyer. In the first, you lose $100. In the second, you lose $900. And not only that, that $900 is probably disproportionately profit. And this is what no one understands. This is why most businesses don't make money. They just try and sell to these people who are the biggest pain in the butt. And the thing is you see so many of them that you're like, oh, this must be how it works. No, it's not how it works. It's just how you're working. This is how the average business works, which is why the average business doesn't make money. They don't go to where the money's at. The next reason is you have to think about absolute profit rather than relative profit, and you'll be blown away. So a single person paying $10,000 for something that costs $2,000, a single person, right? One, right? Buying a $10,000 thing that costs $2,000 is the same as 400 people buying a $50 thing that costs $25. These are the same. So do not underestimate the power of large prices in small quantities. And so the reason that entrepreneurship is such almost like a spiritual journey is that you earn the right to charge more because you no longer think the smaller amount of money is worth your time. There are beliefs that people who have money have, which translate to behaviors that poor people don't have and translate to different behaviors. So what does that mean? A rich kid will choose not to pursue a lower leverage opportunity because it's not worth their time because they were taught it wasn't worth their time. The career paths that they'll have to choose from will be significantly skewed towards things where they'll get disproportionate returns. And a lot of that is just knowledge about it, not even knowledge how to do it. I remember when I first found out, I'd never heard of management consulting, I'd never heard of private equity, I'd never heard of investment banking, I'd never heard of any of this stuff when I went to college because where I was from in Baltimore, a rich person was a doctor. That was a rich person. And to be fair, my dad's a doctor. So I was like, okay, cool. When I went to Vanderbilt, I felt like one of the poorest people there because I'd never seen what New York money was. I'd never seen what California money was. I'd seen what Baltimore rich was, which is that you have, my dad has a business with 2 secretaries and, we always had food. I never had to worry about it. I still have the immigrant mentality of like, we don't use, paper towels because they're expensive, but like, that's just because he came here with $1,000 that still got transmitted. In some ways, you almost have to bat above, you have to hit above your weight class, right? Which is, even though it sounds and the story of when I actually made my first high ticket sale in my life was when I actually set a number that I wanted the person to say no to. And then they said yes. That was how that belief was broken for me. So as much as I want to say like, this is what you have to do, I'm this guy, guy on YouTube that you just saw or whatever, like Layla and I were selling, we started doing these gym launches. We would sell memberships through gyms. We would collect the money. And that was the model. We'd fly around the country. That's what we did. There were some issues with that model, which I've talked about in other videos. And so then all of a sudden, Layla started selling weight loss directly, made a little brand for her called Queen Transformation. We started selling these $500 online training packages over the phone. And that started working. And so I had these gyms that I was supposed to do these launches at that I had decided I wasn't going to do them anymore. And so I had 8 gyms I was supposed to call up and like basically cancel on them. And so on the first phone call, the guy was actually a referral, and he was like, dude, you saved my friend's gym. Like, I know you can do this. And I was so beat down at this point. I was like, dude, I'm not doing it. And he kept asking for it. And then finally I was like, all right, dude, like I'll show you what I do. But I'm not flying out there to help you if you can't close. And mind you, I come from the done-for-you world of like, I literally did everything. I fronted the money, I fronted the cash, I built, I'd literally buy the tables, I'd print the contracts out, I'd run the ads, we'd work the leads, and we'd sell them straight in the gym. So I did everything. So me saying that was just a hope that he would just like say, screw off. And he was like, no, I get it. And he was like, well, how much? And so I said, and remember, I'm used to selling $500 16-week training packages where you have to show up like every, 3 times a week to do stuff. I said $6,000. So for me, it was a 12x compared to the price that I was used to selling at. And I just said it, so I was like, he's just gonna say nope, and then I can just hang up and just move on to my next call. And he said 6K, and I was like, yeah, $6,000. And he was like, done. And I remember like floating out of my body in this moment being like, holy shit, $6,000 from one call. And I didn't even have the thing. I didn't even have the thing that I had sold him yet, because I just didn't think he was going to say yes. I didn't think to have to build it, right? And so I was like, holy shit. And so then so I had 7 more calls. So I called the next guy, same conversation. Well, I was like, well, now I got to build this thing. But it went really smooth. And I was like, he was like, how much? I was like, $8,000. And he was like, yeah, done. And I was like, $8,000. I was like, I'm up $14,000 I'm not even in a day, it's in a morning. So then I had 6 more calls, and by the end of the next call, same thing, how much? $10K. Next call, and by the end of the day, I'd done $60,000 in collected. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? I had no idea what was going on. And so Layla came back after she was selling the $500 memberships, and I was like, babe, I just made 60 grand. And she was like, what? she was like, I thought we were doing the weight loss thing. I was like, no, I think we're still doing the gym thing. I think we're just doing it wrong. And this is why I'm telling you this, because like that moment, of all the moments in my entire career, that was the moment where I elevated. That was the moment where my life really changed. And so I bring this up because you might be like, well, at what price point should I start, right? It's gonna be relative whether you're selling to consumers or you're selling to businesses. And these are just a couple rules of thumb that I'll just tell you that I've kind of worked around. I'd say that for a consumer, an impulse purchase is $500 or $600. A higher ticket purchase is usually gonna be somewhere between $3,000 and $10,000, right? Typically, and that's again for services. If you're looking at like assets, it's a different game. You're buying houses and cars, it's a different game, right? But if you're selling just like pure, I'm gonna help you do some stuff, I'm gonna help you fix some stuff, that's usually a price point that's quote higher ticket. Business, it really depends on the size business. If you're selling to Disney, you can sell $1 billion thing, right? If you're selling to just small business on Main Street, remember, some of them are poor too, right? And so for them though, a more normal price for something will probably be somewhere in the neighborhood of like, I'd say like a mid-tier is probably $2,000 to $3,000 a month. A cheaper price for a business owner would be somewhere in the neighborhood of like $400 to $800 a month. Maybe just call it closer to $500 a month as like a cheaper number for a business. And you're like, $500 a month is cheap for a business? It's like, yeah, it's super expensive for a consumer, pretty cheap for a business, right? One of the big issues I would say that poor people think about compared to rich people is that poor people will think in terms of cost, and I would say rich people will think in terms of the ratio, the return, cost versus value. So if I were to say, hey, I've got this thing that's, let's say it's $20,000. A poor person, just hearing the price, would say, that's expensive. But if I said, a rich person, if I said, hey, my thing is $20,000, they wouldn't then say that's expensive, they'd say, for what? And if I said, Class A share of Berkshire Hathaway, which is an $800,000 stock, for $20,000, that would be the deal of the century, right? If I said it was $20,000 for a brand new Lamborghini, they would say that's a great deal. So even though it costs a lot of money, it's great value. And this is what I struggled for such a long time to understand, because it was like, I almost had this emotional reaction to zeros. It's like if I saw zeros, I was like, oh my God, it's so much, right? And so I know where you're coming from, because you almost choke on the price. So I'll give you a couple little tactics for this to like get around it. So one is, if you're in person, you can write down the price and then turn it and slide it to them. Or you can use a calculator and turn it to them if you like literally choke on the price, because some people do that. The second thing that you can do, and this is a really good little pricing hack for selling, is before you say the price, you say, hey, before I tell you the price, it's super expensive. And so what's beautiful about telling someone it's expensive before you tell them the price is that if someone's rich, they're gonna immediately think what's expensive for them. And so they're gonna think a number, and then you're gonna say the number, and they're gonna literally be like, fine. If they're poor and you say it's expensive, they're gonna brace themselves for a number that's big. And then when you give them that number, they were at least braced for it. And so in either way, you actually create what I would consider an emotional anchor that's perfectly accommodating to the buying power of the prospect. And most salespeople get choked up right at that point. So it's like, give yourself a breather. It's gonna be expensive. You take a breath, they take a breath, then you deliver, right? So it's just a little tactic that works and also can help increase sales. So a good way to know if you're actually priced is to actually look at your close rates, all right? And so if your close rates are 80%, or let's say 60 to 80, I'll put this in tiers for you. 50 to 60, 40 to 50, and then 30 to 40, and then 30. Okay, so let's say these are your close rates. So that means if you talk to 10 people, here you close 8, right? If you're closing 80%, you probably right now have it a 2 to 3x in pricing, sorry, a 3 to 4x in pricing, excuse me, a 3 to 4x in pricing just sitting there. I know that sounds absurd, but think about it. You're gonna get, the 80% are not gonna say yes anymore. I wanna be very clear. You might drop to like 35%. But if 35% of people are paying 4 times more, you're making 120% of the revenue that you were making before. All right, and so like you're making way more money. Now, at 60 to 80, you probably have a 2 to 3x that you have sitting there in price. If you're between 50 and 60, you probably have a 1.5x to 2x sitting there. If you're at 40 to 50%, you're probably at 1.25 to 1.5x. All right, if you're here, I consider this to be appropriately priced. If you're closing 30 to 40%, you're priced about right. If you're below 30, I would say get better at selling. Which part of getting better at selling can be make the offer better or talk to better customers. All right, and so sometimes you will try and pitch a high ticket thing, but not have your core offer, which might be lower, so you have an anchor offer. But the people that you're speaking with, you didn't qualify them. So if I want to say, hey, I'm talking to $1 million plus business owners, I will have a significantly higher close rate if I'm only talking to them. So all of what I described is something called lead scoring or lead qualification. And so what that means is that there's a certain type of customer that's more likely to buy your thing, right? Somebody who has more money is more likely to buy your more expensive thing. And so if we know that the people who have the money are the ones that buy our expensive thing, then we should try and just tell the world, we only cater to these people. Now, the next thing that will come up is people will say, hey, I would sell for a really expensive thing, but no one will buy it because there's guys down the street who will sell it for less because they're brokies selling to brokies. You're right. And that's because you can't sell the same thing. You got to sell something different, which is why I wrote my first book on this, which is the first chapter is you're selling a commodity. You're selling something that someone could reasonably hold your thing and their thing up and say, these two things are the same, so I'll pick the cheaper one. And that's reasonable for them to do it. The idea is that we want to price our things so high and be in such a clearly different category that people say, these two things must be different. I have to analyze these independently. And so within the context of what do I get for my money, the rich person wants three things. They want it to be fast, they want it to be easy, and they want it to be guaranteed. And so everything that you do that is more difficult for these people, you have to make easier, and these people will be willing to pay for it. And so you pre-do some of that work for them. You pre-chew some of the food, you go ahead of time, you drive ahead, you scout the location, you drive it to the door, whatever it is. But when you look at, well, what does it cost for me to drive this thing to the door? It cost me $10, but they're willing to pay $100 for it. Whereas this person's nagging me on the last $5. It's a different game, but this is where all the money's at. The reality of how services work is that you can tell how advanced a service business owner is by how expensive their product is. Because if you're actually good, you have more demand than you have supply. If you have more demand than you have supply, what should you do? Raise price. That's how the supply-demand curve works. And so you continue to raise your price until you're at a point where you're at equilibrium, where like you can handle the amount of demand that you have. If you're still good, you still get more demand because word of mouth continues, and you keep going up. And that becomes the virtuous cycle of price and services. Because when you have a higher price, you have higher gross margins. When you have higher gross margins, you can hire better talent. When you have better talent, you can deliver better services. When you have better services, you get better reputation. When you have better reputation, what does that do? It drives demand, which then drives price. And so this is the cycle that every business has to go through. And you signal to the marketplace, you communicate to the marketplace. Pricing is a two-way communication. You tell them what you're about, and then they will self-select as the correct customers for you. And so you can see where someone's at in their business journey by how high they are priced compared to people who sell comparable services. Because people will very much take price as an indication of value. They just do. Because in general, things that are priced higher are better. Not always, but often. It's a good enough rule of thumb that people in general will do that. This might blow your mind if you've not met people with money. When they go to shop at a store, they price from high to low. They literally look at the most expensive stuff first, because that's probably the stuff that's for them. They don't want to save money anymore. They want to get better value. They want better stuff. They want to skip the line. They want to get it faster. They want it better. They want it to be a higher quality, higher quality ingredients. They want it to be more made by somebody who's more noteworthy. All of these things. And fundamentally, that is what this book goes into tremendous detail talking about, which is the offers book. All right. So with that being said, sell to the rich. They pay better. It's better to sell fewer expensive customers than many broke customers. And if you sell to rich people for long enough, they will make you one of them.
Hear the amazing story of our graduate. Here is an email from one of our 2019 graduates. Before joining PC Age Institute, I was a guy with no money, car, or any goals. I was just a dropout who was working at Dunkin' Donuts with no real ambition to become better.
The last 3 companies I founded and sold grew so fast it felt illegal. Use Allen got to 1.2 million.
Believe in your battle 1. Fight. I can do it. Come on. Come on. Battle 2. Fight. You're finished.
Oh, come on, bro. What?
Battle 4. Fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Final battle. Fight.
What? What? Bro, I fucking pressed my power button, bro. That's fucking ridiculous. What a fucking pushing shit. What bullshit. What a crock of shit. I was holding that shit down for mad long. That's hilarious. Good boy, Boo. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. That's how you do it. Good boy, baby.
Battle one. Fight. Not yet. You dare. Battle two. Fight. My face. You dare. You dare.
Get this fucking fat fuck the fuck down. Yeah. What the fuck? Fucking faggot. King Bounty Princess.
Believe in your power and reach for victory. Battle one. Fight. I can do it.
He did like 3 times in total. What the fuck?
Battle two. Fight. I can do Battle three. Fight. I can
I actually was.
You're finished. Battle four. Fight. I can
as a business major, I always have like 20 tabs open, so I can never find exactly what I need. Between lecture slides, research articles, and random sources, everything can get cluttered fast. I used to waste so much time just clicking through all the tabs trying to find exactly what I needed, and that's why I started.
Last year, my companies did over $250 million in aggregate revenue. I've been in business for over a decade and a half. In this video, I'll show you how we use AI to make our business better, cheaper, faster, and less risky for our customers. I'll also walk you through some real examples of every department. Number one, how do we actually make the business better? So if we think about each of the functions of the business, you're going to be turning raw attention into some sort of profit, right? Like if we look at business as though it's a manufacturing belt. And the first, I think, misconception that people have around implementing AI into their business is they think they must become an AI business, which is not true at all. And so the easiest analogy I can give is the internet, right? So almost every business is on the internet. You don't have to be an internet business. You just use the internet as one of the many tools that you use to deliver whatever it is that you sell. I think the first mistake that I'm seeing businesses make is assuming that either they have to become tech companies. Now there's a component of being tech forward, but like, are you tech forward for having a web page? Not anymore, but you used to be. And the people who got there first got disproportionate returns. The second kind of big thing that is being a mistake is assuming that like one of the tech nerds is going to do it for you. Now, one of the big advantages I think that I've had that's led to some disproportionate outcomes for me has been what I'll consider cloud to dirt knowledge. So like vertical integration of knowledge. So being able to do the high level strategy, being able to handle the people stuff, communication, marketing, all the way down to the granularity of like, how do we connect this API to this other API? And the reason I think that cloud to dirt understanding of all systems within the business is valuable is because you're the only one who's going to understand what is possible. So even if you have some tech nerd, right, who's next to you, you would then ask them, well, what is possible? And they're going to answer within their limited context of business. And so if you know your business better than them, which you should if you're the owner, then you can see how different pieces, if applied together, would be really valuable. They won't see that inherent value. And so they're going to default to things that they've seen before, that people have done, which largely will be what I would consider commoditized automations, right? And so where you get the true alpha or the true kind of big improvements in the business are going to come from your business acumen getting overlaid on top of technical acumen. Now, you probably don't consider yourself to be a tech person. I certainly don't. In fact, I would say that and I don't even like saying it, but I largely dislike technology. But I see it as a necessary evil, being, emphasis on the necessary part, which is that you've got to get good at this shit. So I'm gonna give you a couple things that you can do, and then I'll give you some examples of stuff we've done. But things that you can do today, right now, is there's a zillion videos on YouTube on how to automate a specific thing or task within a business. They exist. You can find them on your own time. What I would encourage you to do is take the link, take the transcript, and then say, hey, I want help building this thing, and then plug that into whatever AI you want, and then follow the directions. And when you get stuck, take a screenshot of the page and say, what do I do now? And put it in the chat. And do that over and over and over again. So from a marketing perspective, we have an AI SDR right now who's matching our human team. Okay. Now, one of the big mess ups though is that people will business owners will install a half-built function of AI into their business, compare it to something that's been optimized over the last 6 years or 10 years or 20 years, and say, see, it doesn't work as well. John Henry wins again, right? For those of you who don't know that, well, you were born probably after 2000. Anyways, so the idea here is you have to do an apples to apples comparison, which is how long did you work on training and putting all the SOPs together? Okay, great. Well, then you have to apply that same methodology to the AI. So let me give you a different example of this. So the reason that I think that like people who have like call it sales AI agencies, will struggle is that you have to know more than just tech and just how to sell in order to implement sales into different businesses. And as somebody who's been very good at acquiring customers via checkout page, via webinar, via in-person sales, via phone sales, most of the ways that you know how to acquire customers, we've gotten pretty good at over the years, and it's just probably maybe an obsession of mine. But the thing is that if I were to go into a company and they say, hey, Alex, can we use your AI setter to apply to my whatever XYZ business, I would say, well, it's not gonna be like a simple drag and drop. It would be like saying, hey, can I take one of your sales guys and put them in my business? The first shot, you think they're gonna be good? Of course not. They're gonna suck. They're gonna be terrible. And you're gonna be like, How is that good? Now it's even worse if you don't even have a very good sales process as is, and then saying, oh, well, now that I have an AI salesperson or AI setter, I'm going to run an ad and then have the AI setter, call every single person who opts in. Well, would you have a human call every single person that opts in? You can then make the argument, well, it'd be cheaper. It's like, yeah, but would it be effective? Most times there's a certain amount, there's a sales motion, there's a sales process. Like AI will make the things that you're doing right now easier and faster. It doesn't mean that you still don't have to do them.
When you use Moomoo, you turn data into sharper trading decisions. Follow power players' trades and model their portfolios in just one click. And with Moomoo AI, spot what matters. Predict what's next and decide with confidence. It's everything you need on one platform, from stocks and ETFs to options and crypto. Join now and earn exclusive new user rewards on us. Trade smart with Moomoo. Invest today.
Let your desire for victory take you beyond your
It's just like a very cool way to prototype extremely quickly. If I go here in Figma, I just have this design here that I pulled together. I can just take the link, I can copy a link to selection, and then I can go into Codex and I can just paste the link, use the Figma skill to implement the automations page in my app. It was like 90% of the way there.
Real quick, I'm going to show you the exact 10-stage roadmap from 0 to 100 million plus that less than 1% of companies finish. I've now done multiple times. And so I can say with a lot of confidence that these are the stages as headcount increases that you need to get through. And I broke each of these down by 8 different functions of the business, what the constraint feels like what are the symptoms of it when you're going through it, and then what steps we actually took to graduate. And we've done this across software, physical products, service businesses, brick and mortar, all of this, and it works. And it's my gift to you. It's absolutely free. And so the link's in the description, but you just go acquisition.com/roadmap, just enter your info and it'll spit it right back to you, all free. So humans aren't going to change. Our ability to be persuaded, the things that we find interesting and important, those aren't going to change. The psychology of humans is largely going to remain unchanged. And so whatever you do in order to persuade people will still have to happen. It's not that all of a sudden all the rules of persuasion are broken. And to the same degree, if your business now starts using AI, I wouldn't advertise that you're using AI. No one cares. They just care that they get their stuff faster, that they get it cheaper, that they make it better, and that it's risk-free. And so let's just hit those ones really quickly. So from a risk-free perspective, how can AI reduce the risk in a business? Now, on a global level, right? I think PayPal reduced its fraud team by a gigantic amount, and more importantly, they reduced their fraud losses by $700 million in a single year just by having AI start recognizing patterns faster. Now, to the same degree, on a human savings level, JP Morgan had Coin, which was their kind of like their AI engine for, I think, like credit agreements, something like that. But it basically saved like 350,000 lawyer hours, right? Which they were able to just basically do 12,000 credit agreements in seconds rather than having these lawyers review them over and over again. That is another use case. Now, some of these seem like these big global companies, but you're like, how the hell am I going to do this in my smaller business? Well, Klarna replaced 700 customer service agents with AI and saved $40 million in a year. For us, when we did our book launch, this is before people were talking about agents as much, we spun up 5 agents that handled, I think it was like, somewhere in the neighborhood of like 120,000 support tickets. And it was mostly just like, hey, can you tell me where I get the free stuff, right? But we were able to resolve 90% of all tickets without any human intervention. You have to find a time, and maybe that's weekends, maybe that's evenings, maybe that's early mornings, maybe that's middle of the day, whatever that thing is for you, or that time period is for you, where you have to fully dedicate yourself and actually go soup to nuts, click to close, beginning to end on just automating one portion of your day. That is my only ask. Now, people have an incredibly hard time with this for 2 reasons. One, because everyone's afraid of AI, which, by the way, if you're watching this and you have workflows, who do you think would be best served to automate the workflow? Someone else or you? You should automate your workflow, because then that will give you time to figure out what else you can do that's more valuable. Now, every single time you think about your workflow, whenever you want to put what I'll just call magic or mysticism in, it's where you say, well, I just kind of know, or I have a gut feeling, or I have intuition or instinct, or whatever you want to call it. I just want you to think pattern recognition. because that takes all of this magic away from it. Because you are an organism that has been exposed to different stimuli, and then you had reinforcement cycles that occurred where you realize that this, like when we say, oh, I think that looks cool, it's because we've seen things that look similar to that. We generalize this pattern and then describe it as cool. All right, that's how it works. And so if you can just erase your romanticism around whatever niche specialized knowledge you believe to have, and believe me, I'm somebody who thinks for a living. I would be the most threatened by AI, right? You still have to approach it with an observable lens, which is what are the actual behaviors that I do in order to get this outcome? And so even something as simple as like, okay, I have to think of a cool idea for this YouTube video, right? We have different ways. I'm sure you have some ways where you're like, okay, well, I think about what I did that week. Okay, so could a bot look at your calendar? Okay, step one. Step two, can you record all of the calls that you take and have those transcribed? Okay, that's now more interesting because now I have a bot that not only sees the calendar, it can also know what all the conversations were. Okay, can I then ask that bot to say, hey, any interesting situation or decision that came up over the last week, I want you to put the top 5 most interesting ones into a document for me, and then run it. And then great, now you've got the 5 most interesting moments. What does it also create? True stories and narratives, which is do epic shit, talk about the epic shit you did. Right, so you don't have to make stuff up. The big difficulty that people will have in the world of AI content creation is proof. That's the issue. That's the problem. And so like there will be endless amount. Now on the consumer side, they won't be as sensitive. On the B2B side, it still matters. Like imagine tomorrow there's a B2B AI avatar, right? For sure. Why do I think that won't work that well? Because the same reason it doesn't work for other people who don't have any proof. The first thing that's like, again, human psychology is not going to change. People are still going to wonder, why should I listen to you? Why should I listen to this AI bot? Well, if that AI bot has no proof about why it is good or what it's achieved or what real world outcome it's had, it's just words. It's just GPT words, right? And so what would then happen is like it has to be backed by somebody who has done some extraordinary thing. Maybe you scaled an e-commerce store. Maybe you did. Maybe you're an amazing trader. Maybe you're really good at real estate investing. Maybe whatever your thing is, right? You have to have the proof. And so in a consumer world, it is easier because, and this is, I mean, again, psychology doesn't change. If you have a beautiful AI avatar talking about skincare, people are going to see the beautiful AI avatar, and then the way the avatar looks gives proof to the thing. Now, we can be clear that obviously it's just purely pixels and generated, but I think that the human psychology part, I don't think that's going to matter, right? But on the B2B side, I still think it will. And so I use all these examples to say, and hopefully drive home a single point, which is that the internet is here. It's just, 25, 30 years later, and it's AI. And your business doesn't have to become an AI business, but you do need to use AI in your business. You don't need to advertise that you use AI, just like I don't advertise that I use the internet, right? I just use it, just like you do. And so we use the tools to get the outcomes. We don't advertise the tools we use. I don't talk about my CRM. I don't talk about what call service we have or what specific training I'm doing for a specific rep. Probably not. I don't talk about that because no one cares. They just care about the outcome. And whether I'm good at it is whether they buy again. And that will come down to your skill. And so my big encouragement is that you are not too busy to do this. You have other things that are less important and you need to start prioritizing this. So the AI equivalent of the web page in the internet era is a different type of response because the internet was all about connection. And so the website became a calling card, right? It was a means for people to contact. So it was in some ways single faceted. From an AI perspective, anything a human touches, an AI can interact with at a basic level. And so if we think about the departments, right, there's going to be AI that's going to be involved in marketing. But let me give you some examples of many different ones that small businesses use. You can have an AI that helps you create the ideas behind your marketing. You can have an AI that helps you script and package the ideas, meaning the headlines, the thumbnails, even the topics themselves, right? It's a little bit kind of like the ideas. You can have AI run the tests for different thumbnails automatically that it generates and then creates a skill based on what it sees over time of what's winning. That's on the organic side. Now, again, you can also include trend research there. What are the trending formats? What are the trending hooks? What are the trending visual hooks, not just verbal hooks? And then take all of that information and then cross-reference it with past content or subject matter that you would show your AI that you associate with, which means AKA brand, right? And so you say, okay, these are trending formats, hooks, intros, visuals, and this is what I do. Come up with the Venn diagram, the cross-pollination of those things, and give me 10 of those. And of those 10, you'll pick the one you find interesting. You click that button, and now it starts generating the idea, the headline, the scripts, whatever. That is on the content side. On the ad side, this is where it gets very interesting too, is that you can create self-licking ice cream cones, which means that I can make content, and I can have the content immediately get overlaid with a CTA, which immediately gets put directly into an ad campaign that launches every single day with yesterday's content. You can create endless amount of static images off of different data sets. So for example, if you run a community-owned school, you could have, hey, I have one tab where people list their wins. Great. Any new win that gets added to that immediately gets transferred over. And then runs through 6 visual templates that we know are high converting. And then we will run those as ads towards Vantage, which is our $1 million plus community that we have there, right? All of that automated. Pretty slick, right? And so all of these things, like, and that's, again, all of those examples are just marketing, right? Sales, you can apply all the way across the bat too, which is like, how can I enrich the leads? How can I respond to them quickly in terms of, can I send an automated voice note? Can I send an image or text that's obviously personalized to their business, which we can dynamically pool? Yes, of course you can. Can you do that via DM on Instagram? Yes, you can, right? All of that's just on the nurture side, right? On the scheduling, can we do more dynamic scheduling because we have one AI who hands off to another AI? Yeah. Is availability less of an issue? Sure. Does that mean speed to content goes through the roof? Yes. Now the thing is that we got 18 months. We have about 18 months where there's just a huge amount of wealth that can be created by people who have nothing. It's a very big opportunity. And so no matter where you're at right now, if you had an army of these agents working on autonomous tasks for you, you could get a lot more done than you currently are. And I think you should do that. But I mean, it works across the board. My legal team, you know, like I can have one general counsel that instead of having 100 paralegals run all the different stuff that we have for deals and lawsuits and whatever else that we have going on, she can just run it all through different agents that have different tasks, right? First response, second response, cease and desist, all that stuff that we have to do every day.
We're going to show you 13 mind-blowing use cases for creators using the new AI Workspace 2.0 from GenSpark, Silicon Valley's first AI agent unicorn, so you can make better films and content, all while automating the tasks you don't want to do. Let's go. One subscription to GenSpark gives you access to all the top AI models: Nano Banana Pro, ChatGPT, Veo, Canva, Figma, Claude, Gemini, and more. This is a game changer for people who want to incorporate AI into their workflows or who just want to experiment with AI and don't know where to start. GenSpark is offering unlimited AI image generation for all of 2026, which is absolutely wild. That means you can create the keyframe images that you use with image to video for all your films and content. You can generate movie posters, YouTube thumbnails, and anything else you can think of using all the best AI image models in one place. You can use the draw to edit and mark to edit modes to change specific things in an image by simply drawing on or selecting the areas you want and typing in a prompt for what you want changed. It's a much more intuitive way to iterate images you generate until you get exactly what you want, and it makes the entire process of generating images much simpler while also allowing for a lot more control. One of the easiest ways to make a ton of great content for your brand or social media pages is to make an AI podcast. You choose the topic and the style, and GenSpark can generate an entire podcast for you on whatever subject you'd like.
So when the star runs out of fuel, the fight is over.
But the star's own colossal gravity relentlessly pulls everything inward. But this battle, it just can't last forever.
You can then pair these with video to make social media content around any niche, and you can even upload documents and have GenSpark turn that into a podcast as well. Most creatives using AI don't realize how much time they spend switching tools. GenSpark allows you to do everything in just one interface, saving you countless hours doing things that don't add to your project. You can easily generate text, images, audio, and videos, then go right to having GenSpark run tasks and set up automations on your behalf, all within the same interface.
I sit back,
If
bro.
you're a
Stop
filmmaker
fucking
or
running
creative
away,
and you don't have a
fucking
website,
faggot.
you're missing out on an incredible way to make more money and market your projects. GenSpark lets you create websites exactly how you want, all with absolutely no coding experience necessary. You can even ask it to learn from existing websites, where you can have it take inspiration on layout, colors, features, navigation, or the overall design just by asking. That means you can quickly and easily make websites for your projects, your business, or your personal brand, so you can get more offers and more eyes on your work.
Bye-bye.
Finding great AI lip syncing is hard, but in GenSpark you can just add an image of your character, type or paste in your dialogue, and it will generate a video of your character speaking the lines in whatever style you request. This is excellent for talking head videos, social media content, even podcasts can get way more interesting with their visuals just by utilizing the lip sync ability inside GenSpark.
The signal is weaker the closer we get.
If you're pitching a video to a client, a film, an ad, a music video, or anything, oftentimes having a pitch deck is a must. A pitch deck is just a simple and easy to follow overview of your vision for the project. This makes it a lot more effortless for clients to approve your idea or greenlight your project. The downside is that it can be time consuming and tedious, but with GenSpark you can quickly add any information you have about your project and it will generate an entire well-designed pitch deck for you from beginning to end. You can then rapidly make adjustments to individual pages or the entire thing with a single prompt. AI Designer is GenSpark's design agent. Instead of putting in a prompt and just getting a single image, you just ask for what you want and it generates entire.
Got something to sell? Your store, your way. Easier than ever with SiteGround e-commerce. Start with a high converting template. Customize it with an intuitive editor. Add your products in minutes. Set up payments and taxes with no hassle, and get discovered with built-in marketing and AI tools. Everything you need to launch, sell, and grow online. Start free.
Tired of having to stream in 720p in StreamYard or having to pay more to get 1080p quality? We got you. Start using EVMux, which is a web-based live streaming tool that allows you to be able to stream and record in 1080p Full HD completely for free.
Here are brutally honest truths that will give you an unfair advantage. I'm Alex Hormozi. I'm the founder of Acquisition.com. It's a portfolio of companies that generate hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue per year in aggregate. And a lot of my success in business has come from finding and exploiting unfair advantages. So hopefully this video helps you do the same. So let's start with number one. Pain is the price of progress. The fastest growth periods are often the most miserable. If you want to progress, get used to pain. If you think about what actually occurs when you grow, you stretch past your point of comfort. So even if you're growing a muscle, like you stretch it, you break it down, it's painful. If you have growing pains, like as a kid, it's like you grew too fast and your joints are in a lot of pain. If you're a company and you expand, this is technically supposed to be good stuff, but it doesn't make it any less painful. Elite athletes don't get stronger during easy workouts. If we want progress, we must accept the price of pain that's attached to it. You cannot both want progress and live an easy life. These two things conflict. Number two, happy but not satisfied. So let me explain this. So you're allowed to be happy before you hit your goal, just not satisfied. And so there's a very big difference between being content with your life, content with your work, and complacent, meaning you're not going to take any more action. There's this great Haitian proverb, which is, behind mountains are more mountains. It's kind of like, after every peak, you can just see more peaks ahead of you. The work works on you more than you work on it. For me, I remember I had a year that I basically went in retirement trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And the thesis that I came out with was that hard work is the goal. And so the fact that there's something that happens as a result of hard work is really just a secondary effect. It's a consequence. But the goal is the work itself. I had a friend this morning who messaged me and they're like, why do you still work? And I was like, because it's the thing that I enjoy doing most. And when I looked back on my life, when I didn't work, I was bored and felt depressed. And when I do work, I am stressed, but I do have moments that I really enjoy as well. I took this as a kind of a foundational truth for me, not for everyone, that there is misery on both sides. So I might as well be productive and useful. And the only way to be productive and useful is to be happy about the process, but not satisfied, so you can continue to provide value to the world. Now, number three, ignore critics. Now, this is probably easy to say,
hard to do. So let me break this down a little bit more. So, friendly reminder that most people are fat, poor, pansies. Don't listen to them when they try to deter you from doing whatever it takes to succeed. So the average person will always try to keep you average. It makes sense that if you want to be extraordinary, you will do things that an ordinary person would see as extra, right? And so a lot of people, and this is the really hard part that I had to come to terms with, is that a lot of people want to see you fail because it justifies the risk that they chose not to take. We always have to think about listening to the people who are closest to our goals, not closest to us. And if you want a more violent version of this, your critics are going to eventually die. And their opinion isn't going to matter then, which means it probably also doesn't matter now. So might as well do what you wanted to do originally. Number 4, selective productivity. Productivity comes from all the things that you choose not to do. I'm going to define 2 more terms for you because I think it's important. I see commitment as the elimination of alternatives. So if I get married, then I eliminate all alternatives to the person that I'm married to, right? That is commitment, right? Which is very similar to focus. Focus, if you think about the hypothetical extreme of focus, is that somebody does literally nothing but one thing. So they don't eat, they don't sleep, they would eventually die, but they would be 100% focused during the time that they were alive, right? Obviously, we have to put a couple of things in. You have to eat food, you have to sleep, right? But the most focused person does the fewest things outside of the thing they're focused on. Focus is about the number of things that you say no to. Having this framework is, in my opinion, is that you say no outside of the thing you have to sleep, right? But the most focused person does the fewest things outside of the thing they're focused on. Focus is about the number of things that you say no to. Having this framework is, in my opinion, more powerful for productivity than just about anything else, right? People are always trying to figure out like productivity hacks, but they want to add things to their lives to become more productive, which is completely counter to what focus even means. It's getting rid of everything that's not the thing is how you focus. Now, part of that also means environmentally, right? So if you like have a window that you look outside of and you've got people who walk past your office and people can knock on the door and you've got Slack notifications, of course you're not focused because all of those things are not the work. So I'm going to give you an analogy here. So imagine there's a wall that you have to get over, all right? You have to get a critical mass to get above this wall, right? And so you start putting up, these ladders against the wall to try and climb over the wall. All right, this should make some sense. But as you try to build up the little rungs of the ladder, so you put 4 rungs up. Well, you're not going to get the critical mass required to get over the hump to actually get the success you want. But the idea, the fallacy is that, I'll just do all 3 or 4 of these things and I'll see which one works. When the reality is that any of them work, but none of them will work unless you work on one. And so we have to take these 4 rungs that we're able to build and say, you know what? We're not going to do that. We're going to put that rung here because I'm going to take that time that I'm putting for my second opportunity, put it here. I'm going to take this rung and put it right here. And then I'm going to take this rung and what do you know? I can get over this hump on top and I can get to the other side of the wall, which of course is where all the money and all the happiness and all the, the girls with, beautiful, beautiful hair. Look at this beautiful hair, right? This beautiful hair. Now she looks like a bug. Anyways, there you go. What's crazy is that this literally happens at all levels of business. Like people who are starting out, trying to start 5 things, people who are like their 2nd or 5th year. I talked to a guy last night who has a really good business, really good margin, 50% margins, has great revenue retention. He was in cyber security. People stay with him, people pay. He has no problem getting customers. He has no problem delivering on them. And I was like, what's the problem? He's like, me. He said, I get bored. He's like, I just want to start more things. And I'm like, yeah, you got to stop that. It's like, the thing is think about how much more successful you'd be. So zoom all the way out. Think of somebody who gets better every single year and works on the same project for 20 years. You'd be like, my God, that guy's probably really fucking good. And what's interesting about this is that it doesn't matter what project the person works on. You do 20 years of reps and you do nothing else, you're gonna be good. And so if you know that that's a fact, that's a certainty that you're going to be good with 20 years of practice, then the objective is to just get 20 years of practice in one thing and stick with it. So like your plans aren't working because the plans are wrong. The plans aren't working because you're not working on the plan. The hard part about the plan is not creating the plan or even following the plan. It's sticking with the plan. That's the hard part. All right, number 5, fear.
Enter the trading arena and go from the bullpen to the bull market. Turn data into sharper decisions. Spot what matters, predict what's next, decide with confidence powered by Moomoo AI. Everything you need on one platform. Trade stocks, ETFs, options, and crypto on Moomoo, official partner of the New York Mets. Trade smarter. Download Moomoo today.
Download fucking Moomoo. Sound like you're making fun of black people. What the fuck?
Would you be happy if you stayed where you are in life and job forever? If the answer is yes, then this video is not for you. But if you want to finally achieve the time, location, and financial freedom you know you deserve, then this new career may be the answer to all your prayers. Because what I'm about to reveal to you is unlike anything you've ever seen before. It pays extremely well, it's flexible with hours and location, you don't need a degree, and here's the craziest part, you can earn while you learn and still have enough time to juggle your current job, responsibilities, and even family. So here's what I'm talking about. I'm David Bragg, founder of Front End Simplified. We help people like you land tech jobs guaranteed without needing a degree or previous experience. The tech industry is already one of the biggest ones in the world, yet it's still expanding by 20% year over year. And global companies with the budget to pay high salaries are desperate right now to find talent. Why, you may ask? The reason is simple. With more and more apps being developed and everything going online, these companies need people to build and support their new features and softwares. And the problem? There's just not enough people out there to pull from. Probably because they think coding is too hard, they think it takes too long to learn, or maybe they don't even know this career exists. That's why this is such an amazing opportunity. Front-end development is the easiest part of coding to learn, yet the average salary is $113,571 per year, and that does not include bonuses. And because of this difference in supply and demand, it's also the easiest field in tech to break into. After all, you don't need previous experience or a college degree to get hired, and I know this because I went from making $17 an hour at a grocery store and being addicted to video games to landing a $160K front-end developer job at Canva without a degree. Or because I took action on 3 simple secrets that a beast coder shared with me. Once I took action on his advice, I was able to finally land a 6-figure job in tech that not only gave me the financial freedom, but also location freedom, time freedom because I only had to code like 2 to 4 hours per day, and fulfillment because I was finally working a job that I actually felt proud of. And when you click or tap the link below, you'll discover the 3 steps, the same ones that caught the attention of Forbes and 100 other publications. So you too can break into the tech industry in a matter of months, the same way hundreds of our students have done it and changed their lives. Like Torrin, who went from making $56K a year in the military to landing a $120K job without a degree in under 5 months. Or Ryan, who started with 0 experience in coding yet was able to land an $80K job after 6 weeks and then a $175K job working at Amazon in 6 months. Or Dina, who landed a $90K job for the first job she applied to by breaking into the tech field using our system, and she's now making $150K per year. But listen, at some point universities will see this gap and they will start teaching front-end development. So this opportunity to easily get your foot into the tech industry will not exist forever. If you're someone who's feeling trapped in an unsatisfying job, someone who wants to leave commuting and financial constraints behind, click or tap the link below to discover how to break into the tech industry in a matter of months. It's not an exaggeration to say this could change your life forever, because it did for me and hundreds of our students. So don't wait, take a few minutes to watch this video, and if you don't have the time right now, at least click the link below and bookmark it for later, for when you have a few minutes, because who knows if you will ever see this video again.
Oh, who's back out, bro? Come on, bro. You guys are fucking whack. Oh, it's talented. Oh my god.
Versus regret. So change is scary, but so is regret. And so the life you live depends on the one you fear most. The more successful version of yourself also has fear. It's just that your fear of regret is greater than your fear of rejection. Think about that for a second. I'm gonna say it one more time. Your fear of regret must supersede, must be bigger, must be greater than your fear of rejection. And so I remember when I quit my management consulting job, which took me 6 months. So I'm not saying this from a pedestal. It took me 6 months. I decided I wanted to quit. It took me 6 months before I actually quit. By the way, you can measure how powerful someone is by the distance between when they make a decision and what happens in reality. So if you want to feel impotent, then take as long as you possibly can between when you make a decision and when you act on that decision. Now, for me, it was 6 months. And all I did was I called my friends up every night. I was like, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to start a business. And we talk every night, literally every night. And I would be pacing in my condo, like, I'm going to do it. And I wouldn't do it. I was too afraid. I was too much of a scaredy cat. But the thing that got me over the hump was this. Number one, I knew that when I looked back on my life, if I never took the jump, I would have been ashamed of myself. And I would have felt like I was a pansy. And I was like, I can't die a pansy. I have to be able to make a jump. Number two, I played out plan B, which is, okay, let's say I actually completely fail. What happens? I was like, well, I'm not really going to be homeless. I know enough people that I can get food, right? And I was like, okay. So I would probably just couch surf. I'd have a little bit of shame. But at the end of the day, what would I really do? Well, I could always apply to get the job that I had back. Or I could just go to another place with an experience or a story that would set me up for something cooler later. And so all of a sudden I was like, wait, so my plan B is that I just have a cool experience that I can talk about at a job interview or to go to business school? Okay, that doesn't actually sound that bad. And so there was this huge amorphous fear, but I've just noticed in my life that fear only exists in the vague. It doesn't exist in the specific. If you're afraid of something, try and break it into pieces and spell it out. Play out the next 2 or 3 steps. Because all of a sudden, if you're in the developed Western world, the downside risk is not really real. Like the only real downside risk is the opinions of other people who will say that you failed, who you don't care about anyways. But like, you think you're going to die, but you're not. You're just gonna learn some stuff and you'll be like, oh, maybe next time I'm not gonna make that mistake. And that's it. And I say this and it's easy for me to say, but it took me 6 months to figure this out. But I do remember my final straw was the realization that I had at the time, no girlfriend, no kids, and I had no real, financial responsibilities besides like eating and having a place to live. I said, if I can't make the decision now because it feels too risky, I will never be able to make the decision. Because if other people rely on me, now some of you are in a position where people do rely on you. And you're like, well, Alex, I've got people who rely on me. Yeah, I would say that it makes it harder. And what now? Harder and so what? But for me, that was the thing that got me over the hump. It was like, if I don't do it now, I'm never gonna do it. I'm never gonna have fewer responsibilities. And to play this out a little bit more, if you have people who depend on you, their dependencies on you might increase. And so if you can't do it now, you still might as well do it, right? Because it's only gonna go one way. Number 6, persistence creates timing. So you can time everything perfectly if your intention is to never stop. I want to say this one more time. You can time everything perfectly if your intention is to never stop. So think about this visually. So let's imagine that this line right here is your lifeline. It's life as time passes, right? Now, let's say that you have some special thing that's going to happen here, and some special opportunity that happens here, and some special opportunity that happens here. What most people try and do is they don't want to work at all, and then they're like, oh, I'm just going to work here, and then I'm going to work here, and then I'm going to work here. But the likelihood that you're there in these 3 moments is very low if you're trying to time it. But if you work the whole time, then the timing will always be perfect because you will be ready. And so perfect timing is a complete myth, but perfect preparation isn't. And that on a long enough time horizon, your opportunity will come. People think that they need perfect conditions to start when in reality, starting is the perfect condition. It creates the perfect condition for opportunity to be capitalized on. And I can tell you this from firsthand experience with me. Like, the more you do, the more you see you can do. And so opportunities multiply with skill. And so the better you get at doing stuff, the more things you know you would be able to do and win at. And so the goal is to gain as many skills as possible so that you have access to the maximum number of potential opportunities. A lot of people are thinking that, oh, I'm going to wait for the right moment. But when you have unlimited skills, like Elon can go do whatever he wants. He could build a city in the middle of the ocean. And so he could do that. He has the skills because the world of opportunity is open to him. He also spent all of his younger years just developing all these different skills and becoming a polymath across all these different things. Independence, political stuff, put it away. The point is the guy's good, all right? And so the goal is to get good, and then you will never have a shortage of opportunities. Number 7.
Hey everybody, Walton Goggins here. Starting a business is never easy, but with GoDaddy Aero, that endeavor is about to become a whole lot easier.
Hey man, you got
envy versus effort. All right, let me break this down. If people worked for their goals as hard as they envy others for achieving them, they would already have achieved them themselves. So think about the amount of mental effort that goes into the hate that people spew out, the envy for wanting other people's stuff. I'll give you a couple hard truths about this. Number one, no one is doing as well as you think they are. So by comparison, you're actually better off than you think. Number two, you don't win by beating people. You win by growing into your potential and then allowing them to shrink into irrelevance by consequence. Three, and guess what? Your biggest threat is not your competition. It's a mediocre version of you that never realized what you could become. And as pithy as that may sound, it's also true, right? A lot of people think it's like, oh, you know, that guy's doing really well. It's like, his doing well changes nothing about your reality. Something really ironic that I noticed is that the people who get copied the most by their competition are the people who ignore the competition who are copying them. Fundamentally, you start by focusing on the customer, and if you always put the customer first, everyone will copy you because you're actually doing the thing that will work, which is focusing on the customer. And there's a lot of weird things in life like that, where like, it's the opposite is what you'd think. Like, oh, I'm gonna look at what everyone else is doing. It's like, no, just do what matters most, and then people who don't know how to think will just copy you. The real threat is that no one copies you at all because you're doing nothing. If you take all this effort that you put into comparing yourself to other people, that you look to kind of like tearing them down sometimes, even in your mind, let's be real, maybe you don't say it to other people, but in your mind you're like, that, whatever that is, whatever that feeling is, that, just do that towards you not being good enough. What happens is that when you do that, all of that effort, all that energy goes into improving yourself rather than tearing down somebody else. And only one of those things will help you. Number 8, hard conversations create opportunities. Hard truth. Everything you want is on the other side of a few hard conversations that you have been putting off. People either grow into their potential or they keep living the same 6 months of their life over and over again. And the difference is how many hard conversations you're willing to have and how fast you have them once you realize you need to. If you shirk away from this, and I get it, I'm somebody who for a very long time had a hard time having hard conversations. Right? Like I literally traveled across the country before I told my dad that I left. All right, like I get it. So if you think having uncomfortable conversations is hard, just wait until you see the result of not having them. It will be harder. Basically, the struggle is that you have short-term pain versus long-term pain. And long-term pain, I call regret. Comfort is short gain. Regret is long pain. Fear is short pain. Fulfillment is long gain. You want to trade short pains for long gains, not short gains for long pains. It's not the safe bet. It's a guaranteed loss just later. All right, so I'm gonna spell this out. This is short pain. This is long pain. This is short gain. This is long gain. You want to trade short pain for long gain. That's the goal. It's the best trade. Number 9, endure. There's a reason that when I gave instructions to some of the new business owners who were going to start, putting a community on school, one of the sole instructions I gave them was learn to endure. And so the fastest way to become the person you want to be is to put yourself in a situation where you have no choice but to become them. You'd be amazed at what you can endure when you have no choice. For me, when I signed my lease for my gym, I had $5,000 in my bank account. The rent was $5,000. I had never really made money before. And so I was like, oh, wow, how does this work? If I made 100% of the money that I had made in my job, I would have been able to pay rent and have no food or anything else. But one of my favorite flavor texts on Magic cards is necessity is the mother of invention, right? It's the constraints that create the innovation that is required to get you out of the constraint, to get you out of the hard time. And so when I think back on human history, sometimes we think the things that we're going through are hard, but they're certainly much easier than the things that other humans have endured. And how did they endure them? Well, when the only choice they had was die or endure, you tend to endure. Number 10, results, excuses. This is not going to be a big surprise here. The thing with excuses that's interesting is that they may be valid. And I think that's the part that people struggle with, is that they're like, yeah, obviously results matter more excuses, but insert special snowflake. The thing is that you might be right. And I just like this quote from Layla. She says, it's not your fault, but it is still your problem. You still have to do something about it, or you can just wait and say, you know what? I'm going to continue to not live the life that I want until I die. And everyone will be like, oh yeah, he had an excuse. That's why. Right? Is that what you really want? Is that people were like, yeah, he had an excuse. Like, that's it. It's a weird thing to want a permission slip for mediocrity, which is fundamentally what excuses are. You just want permission from everyone else to still get respect without the outcome because of your extenuating circumstances. And the thing is there's a ton of allure, but the only person who actually believes that is you. People might nod along. The people who love you might say, yeah, you know what? You are special. You are a special snowflake. Your mama might still love you. But you're not going to earn anyone's respect. And I think you certainly won't earn the respect of the person that matters most, which is you. Because you'll always know that you could have done more, that you could have done better. That's the one that keeps me up. I have a saying that I tell myself a lot when I'm doing something that I don't want to do. And it's, I will do what is required. It's not about doing your best. It's about doing what's required, because what's required might be better than your best is right now. But the good news is that your best can get better. So number 11, and this one's real, all right? The hard way is the easy way. And you're like, how does that work? The hard way is the easy way because the easy way never gets you there. So think about it. People always are looking for the shortcut, but you have to accept a very simple truth, which is that the shortcut never actually takes you to the place that you're trying to go. And it's because it's rarely one big thing. And I would postulate, fancy word, right, that there are a lot of shortcuts that exist in life. Wait for it. And everyone already uses those. And so whenever an actual shortcut gets found, all humans immediately do it, and it no longer becomes a shortcut. It's just a thing that everyone does, and it's not really a thing anymore. Like, we learned how to tie knots. That was a big breakthrough. And then everyone ties their shoes, and they're like, oh my God, let me show you the shortcut to this. It's like, oh, you tie, like, oh my God, everyone does it, and it's like not a thing anymore, right? And so all the things that you want to have that most people don't have shortcuts. But the thing is so many people waste so much time. They literally waste longer than it would have taken the hard way, the only way to get there, in search of the easy way that doesn't exist. And so the reality of this is that it's usually 100 small things that make days, weeks, and months hard. It's the never-ending onslaught of shit. And then you remember, after going through that onslaught of shit, that you signed up for this. But then again, you figured that it would be hard. And then you're reminded that this is what hard feels like. And so you keep going, because it's the only choice you have. I want to remind you that a lot of times what we imagine hard to be is different than how we experience hard, because the nature of hard changes too. And it's more of a limitation in how we describe hardship than it is, and I actually think there's a big problem with this. So just kind of like Eskimos have like 7 different words for snow. I feel like I should have like 25 different words for hard, right? Like the amount of things that you go through, there's like lifestyle hard. Like, okay, so there's sacrifice hard, of like you're giving up things that you enjoy. There's also like effort hard, of like starting to do things that you hate doing, that you're not good at. There's risk hard, of the fact that you could lose something that you currently have, right? That you have the chance of losing what you currently have. You have the uncertainty hard, of the fact that you might be doing all of the sacrifice for nothing. There's lots of different flavors of hard, and each one of them presents at different times, and for some reason, when it gets a new kind of hard, it's a new 7th type of snowflake hard, then you're like, oh, this is different. But it's not. It's just that the thing that you grow comfortable with, then you conquer, and then you're exposed to a new level. And so I love this quote from Paul Graham. He said, if you want to make $1 million, you have to endure $1 million worth of pain. Fundamentally, in my opinion, the people who end up building, not inheriting, building tremendous wealth, just have massive concentrations of pain. So don't go looking for the easy way, because it will never get you there. Number 12.